Isaiah 52, verse 15, it says that when the servant is ultimately elevated, it will shock the entire world. In other words, the exaltation of this servant will be such a shock to the kings and the nations of the world, they will all be totally surprised. That's what it says in Isaiah 52, verse 15. Now, if the servant is Jesus, it should have said that the shock will be only to who? To the Jews. Because the rest of the world has been expecting this. The rest of the world is expecting that Jesus will be the Messiah. You have to understand, we have 2 billion Christians that all believe that Jesus is the Messiah. We have 1 billion Muslims who also believe that Jesus was a prophet and the Messiah. So, who are the only people that really reject Jesus as the Messiah? The Jewish people. The element of surprise would only be relevant to the Jewish people. However, Isaiah 52:15 says that when this servant will be exalted, who will be surprised? The entire world. So clearly, Jesus does not fit over here in the description.
Rabbi, even if there are more than 1 billion Muslims that believe that Yeshua is the Messiah, they will not expect the exaltation that is described in the Tanakh. That is what the astonishment is all about in the prophecy. It's not about the fact that the person is the Messiah, but that the claims about this person were all true. For some reason, Muslims claim that Yeshua is the Messiah, but they don't even know what they are admitting to when they say he is the Messiah. I know that Islam has its own description of the Messiah and Messiah's return and stuff, but none of that is based on the Tanakh. If Yeshua is the promised Messiah, the only valid description about him is to be found in the Tanakh, not in the Quran or the Sunnah. And the Messiah described in the Tanakh will crush all the enemies of Israel, including the Muslims. It seems to me that the Quran decided to jump on the bandwagon, but admitting that Yeshua is the promised Messiah automatically means that the Islamic theology is false. Since in Islam, the Messiah will return and abolish the jizya, will basically means he will destroy the Jews and the Christians until only Muslims are left. So yes, they will be shocked to see the exaltation of the Messiah to the status that they have never believed or thought of, and outright reject, since they believe in a counterfeit Messiah. Please don't tell me that the Muslims whose regimes persecute Christians on a daily basis and have a built-in disdain for Jews will not be shocked if what we say about Yeshua appears to be true. Do not tell me that the Chinese whose regimes persecute Christians on a daily basis will not be shocked if what we say about Yeshua will appear to be true. Please do not tell me that the Hindus, on whose hands too Christians undergo persecution, will not be shocked if what we say about Yeshua will appear to be true, falsifying the millions of gods that they worship. Please do not tell me that atheist leaders and Buddhists, etc., will not be shocked if what we say about Yeshua will appear to be true. And of course, the icing on the cake will be the amazement of Israel itself, his own people, whom he will gather from all the nations to be his own. So I don't see how your objection works against us.
To summarize, the passage Isaiah 53 is not clearly about the Messiah. In other words, it does not go out of its way to identify the subject as the Messiah.
Well, no passage does. Like I said before, the only passage that literally speaks about Messiah is a passage that you strangely reject as messianic, which is Daniel 9.
Number 2, there is no corroboration elsewhere in the Bible for a divine Messiah that is to suffer and die for the sins of the world. In other words, this is the only passage that Christians have and use to claim that the Messiah is to be a divine Messiah that is to suffer for the sins of the world, which is a great weakness in itself. If it was the most central teaching in the Bible, you'd hope that it was taught over and over and over again. And finally, finally, the description of the servant of Isaiah 53 doesn't line up with that what we know of Jesus. In other words, he wasn't despised, roundly despised and rejected, etc.
No corroboration, well, I beg to differ. That Messiah will suffer and die for the sins of others can be found in Daniel 9. That the Messiah will be defined is found in Isaiah 9 verse 5 and 6, Isaiah 50 verse 11, Malachi 3 verse 1, and Zechariah 12:10. We don't even use Isaiah 53 to prove that the Messiah will be divine. No corroboration, well, I beg to differ. That Messiah will suffer and die for the sins of others can be found in Daniel 9. That the Messiah will be defined is found in Isaiah 9 verse 5 and 6, Isaiah 50 verse 11, Malachi 3 verse 1, and Zechariah 12:10. We don't even use Isaiah 53 to prove that the Messiah will be divine.